Hello, Mariah. I'm sorry. Sorry. Hello, Maria. Welcome to the Thun Reads podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you. And thanks for correcting it. I know it's difficult sometimes to pronounce my name.
No problem. No
Happens to
problem.
everybody.
Okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an icebreaker activity. It's called word association. It's a word association game. So, basically, I'm going to give you a word related to personal or professional development. And then you're just going to say the first word that comes to mind in less than 3 seconds. And then the first word that comes to mind, you're basically just going to talk about it a little bit. Okay. All right.
Cool.
So the first word is negotiation.
Deal.
Okay.
And yeah, that word comes to my mind because every deal you want to close, especially for me working in sales, right, comes with a negotiation, whatever it is, the conditions, the price, anything like that.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Second word is emotional intelligence.
Happiness.
Okay.
I think, yeah, without emotional intelligence, you are never going to be happy. You are always going to be frustrated, think that everybody's against you, that all what they say is because of you, right? Instead of just understanding and being compassionate with them.
Okay. And last word is active listening.
Conversation. I've read this quote actually in a book, and that's what they said. There's no conversation without active listening. If not, it's just words flying through the air. So yeah, that's it. There's no conversation without active listening.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. So we're gonna move on. So you're gonna so tell us why you like reading nonfiction books like Never Split the Difference in English.
So for me, actually, it is crucial because of my work. I just work entirely in English. And so I always need to get better at explaining things, explaining new ideas, new concepts, and also be updated with what's going on, right? So I normally read things that are kind of related to either business or sales, if it's not personal development, so I can also interact better with other people and just get better.
Okay, perfect. All right. And how's your reading experience in English? You read frequently.
Actually, all the time. I think when I had my first job, that was not like I work as a waitress in a coffee shop or something like that. Then I had my first job that was fully in English, and I was like, oh my god, I just don't know as much English as I thought I knew. So then I was like, okay, let's just start reading books in English, and all the podcasts. I was like, yeah, they are going to be in English, and all the newsletters I subscribe to, they're going to be in English. So since then, it's just been a thing for me, and I mostly read in English. Sometimes I try to also do Spanish because I feel I'm gonna forget one day how to speak Spanish. But yeah, that's kind of like how I started doing it and how I do it now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, in your opinion, how can nonfiction books in English help you on your own personal and professional for your own personal and professional growth?
I think I lost you.
Yes.
There we
Okay,
go.
now? Okay. So I'll
Yeah.
repeat the question. How do nonfiction books in English help you for your own personal and professional growth?
So actually, in my family personally, mm, they were reading like nonfiction books, but like more based on like history books or biographies or something like that, right? And it was not a thing to read books that will help you up, or teach you things that you will do on your everyday. So I think once I started to do that, it's when I started actually growing professionally and personally. Because at the end of the day, if you think about it, fictional books just break your beliefs or make you think about new ideas in a different way, or like old ideas, right? In kind of like a different way. So that's how they help me. They are just constantly breaking beliefs or things that, yeah, that we think they are like the absolute truth, and then you start understanding, oh, actually this is not completely, right, or that's not the only way to look at things. And so that both helped me with my growth in my professional career and also personally.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next part. So we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna be talking about "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss. Can you give us a brief summary of the book?
Yes. So in the first place, Chris Voss, he's an FBI negotiator. So that just makes things pretty interesting already, right? He talks about some stories about like negotiations, real hard negotiations during his time in the FBI. But the point is not just talking about these stories. Is also he talks a lot about conflict resolution, more when like you're talking about like deals, right? Like big deals or whatever it is, for company deals or like business deals. But I feel this framework of being okay with conflict and also knowing how to deal with it, so like having the right tools to deal with conflicts, also can be applied to a personal life. So he kind of like don't he doesn't like focus on that, but I've also taken some of learnings and apply them to my personal and everyday life. And then in the book he just explains different techniques of how to deal with this conflict, in many different ways. Like one of the examples is, it's so funny because he talks about an example of when he wants to buy red Toyota, and he knows that there's just one dealer that has these car that he wants, and he's like, okay, I want to spend 30K on this car, right? And he goes to the dealer, and the dealer's like, okay, this car costs 36K. And then he just thinks like, no, I'm just not going to spend that money. I just want to spend 30K. And also he's like, I'm a professional negotiator. I can definitely do this. And so in this example, he starts applying all these techniques. One of them being kind of like something that he calls calibrated questions. And that's just basically asking how, right? So he asks the salesman, how I'm supposed to do that if I don't have the money. If I just have 30K earnings, how I'm going to pay you 36? And then the salesman, he's like, I don't know how to respond to that. So he just goes to his manager, asks if he can drop the price a little bit. And then he drops a little bit the price, but he's still like, no, I just can't pay 30K. And then he
Yeah.
just keeps applying all these strategies, right? And he applies like a lot of compassion and a lot of like active listening. So he starts understanding, okay, this salesman, he wants to close the deal this month probably, so I can actually make him get this money, but it's going to be for 30K. So if I actually push for it, we can make it happen. And so he just starts explaining all this dialogue, and you start understanding how the psychology works in sales, and when you are like trying to get a deal with somebody. And he finally gets it. He finally gets the car for 30K, which was impressive. I'm like, does this actually work? But it does. It does. It's a true story. So it was really cool. So that's kind of like the summary of the book, and just a little story so people get excited about it.
Okay. And how did you come across this book? Did someone recommend it to you, or you found it online?
I actually found it online, and I kept seeing it in many different, like newsletters, and many people kept mentioning it. And because of who he was, and I saw him on LinkedIn, I saw all the trust that he built and like the personal brand, and I was like, I think I'm going to check it out. And I just ended up studying the book, like literally just like, oh, this is great. This completely changed my mind on how to sell, like build or like work in sales or deal with people. And yeah, I just reread the book like 2 times. So
Wow. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. So now you gave us three quotes and three takeaways. So we're gonna dive into those right now. So your first quote that you wrote down was, "Negotiation is not an act of battle; it's a process of discovery." The goal is to uncover as much information as possible. Tell us a little bit about that.
So for me, and I think especially when you start in sales, like years ago when I started, and many people after many years in sales, they think the same thing, right? They think about a battle. It's like I gotta win the deal. I'm gonna be the winner, right? It's like a competition again. It's like you against the other part, against your just the other party, like your customer or your prospect. And this book really makes you understand that this is not a battle. And in my case, I'm talking about sales because I'm in sales, right? But any negotiation is not a battle. It's not that I'm going to win and I'm the winners. We are both going to win. We are both going to collaborate and get to a place where we are both happy. And when you change your mindset to that, everything starts getting better because you get out of a deal and you celebrate, but the other party is going to go celebrate too. So it's even better than just you feeling that like the winner. And I really like that one for that.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to the your second quote. Though the intensity may differ from person to person, you can be sure that everyone you meet is driven by two primal urges: the need to feel safe and secure, and the need to feel in control. If you satisfy those drives, you're in the door.
Right. Yeah. Same here. And here, I think you can even apply it for anything. Like for me, when you are trying to build a relationship with somebody or teach people or train teammates or just do any, like have any kind of interaction with somebody and build any kind of relationship, right? You just gotta understand that that's what they want. They want to feel secure. They also want to feel safe, not threatened, right? And they also want to have some kind of control. So if you figure out how to make people feel this way, then you're in. They will want to be your friends. They will learn so much from you. You're going to be a great leader. They're going to reach out to you. You're going to be a cool person to hang out with. And I found that really, really powerful.
Okay, all right. And let's move on to the last quote you provided. Yes is nothing without how.
Actually, this is my favorite one. This is my absolute favorite one. And you again can apply it for many things, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because that I just think it's brilliant, especially with closing, with when closing deals, right? You expose things, you do presentations, you like do all these things, and then somebody's like, great, yeah, we're gonna do it, let's sign the deal, let's go. And many people's like, okay, great, let's just send them the quote and send them the contract and just close this now, instead of thinking or asking, okay, how are we going to do this? Who is going to be involved? What resources are you going to put in here? What do you need from us? Like all these details that are going to make this thing happen, whatever there is, need to be in place before you try to sign anything. Because if not, what happens is you get to like this place where you're gonna sign a deal, let's say, and then they are like, oh wait, I need somebody else to check this. And then 3 more weeks, somebody else has to check the contract. They have to approve it. They don't approve it. Then you're not hitting your goals in that quarter and everything just goes really bad. Same with anything, really. It's like when a friend gets excited about a trip, right? And you're like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And you're like, okay, how are we going to do this? What's the date? When are you available? Like, do you need to take holidays? Let's book this, because for me that's it. Like, yes, it's so easy to get, everybody will get excited about a trip, but not a lot of people will get excited when you actually are like, okay, let's talk about these steps that we're going to take to make this happen, and let's start making a plan so we know how we're going to make this trip happen. So that's why I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, very good, very good. All right, so we're gonna move on to your takeaways, your three takeaways. So the first one um, you wrote is, don't judge your counterpart's decisions. Understand why they make sense to them, and you will understand what they really want.
Yeah, this one, also a great one, and I'm sorry to put just examples in sales, but this book made me think about all of these examples that I just or situations that I live through during my during my work journey, let's say, or like my everyday. And this is very related to, for example, I just thought about this example of, there's somebody that you are selling something, right? And you want them to sign a 6-month contract. And they're like, or like a year contract, let's say. And they're like, no, 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 we can only sign 6 months. And many people will try to push for, no, 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 it's just a year. I'm going to make you, a really good discount, but you have to sign for a year. And they still say no, like, we're just going to do it for 6 months. And people start getting frustrated, right? And be like, why they're not doing it for a year? It's cheaper. That doesn't make sense. Are they crazy? And when you start digging in and asking, okay, why 6 months? What's the reason why, right? Just asking that little question to really understand what are their interests or why they don't want to sign for a year. Many times you find out, because that's happened to me before, that it's because they cannot, because their financial year is different than yours, because the executive team just gave them, or put on them some rule, such as, hey, you can only sign contracts for 6 months at first
Hmm.
to try things out, right? So there's many of these situations where we think, why they are doing that, this is so wrong, because it's against what you want. But then you stop yourself from understanding what the other person wants. And so this is a good reminder for that.
Okay, great. Next one. Next takeaway. Acknowledge the label. Sorry. Acknowledge and label the emotions and concerns of others, particularly when they are not happy about something.
Yeah. This one, it's just a really good takeaway too, because imagine you have like some conflict with somebody, or you go home, right? And there's your friend, and your friend looks like, maybe not your friend, but somebody that you don't really know, but it's in your
Hmm.
house for some reason, like a friend of a friend. He's like in a bad mood, right? And you have to hang out with this person for an hour because your friend is not coming until an hour. So what many people will do, just kind of like try to make the situation nice, right? Maybe you will ask, oh yeah, how is it going, like just trying to make some jokes, or
Yeah.
make the situation a little better. But if instead of that, you will actually be like, hey, how are you? I noticed that you're a little, you seem a little upset about something. Like, are you okay? Like, just kind of like putting out there what you actually know, because you can know pretty easily what's going on. Maybe somebody's like, yeah, I'm upset because your friend, Mike was saying that he will be here now, and now I have to wait for an hour, and I really wanted to hang out, and I need to leave for a dinner. And then from there you start like, okay, this is the experience, so maybe let's get a beer together, let's just hang out, it's fine, Mike will be here, whatever. So you kind of like at least tell people and acknowledge what's going on, understand what's going on, and then you can act based on that, instead of just pretending that everything is fine. It's fine, right? So that's also something I've applied in my life, and it worked really well. Not just in life, also with clients for sure.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great takeaway. And the last one is understand which type of negotiator you are and with which kind of negotiator you are talking to.
Yeah, this for me it was a completely new concept. I never thought about this specific categorization for people when I was kind of like in negotiations with them. But he in the book talks about three different types of negotiators. And there's basically he calls it the assertive negotiator. And these normally are like the ones that are more direct, and they tend to like have strong feelings about things, and they will say yes or no, or I don't like this, or we like this, or be very like strong on their decisions. And also they really know what they want, and they will express it. So, and also they want to have control. So people that is really direct, right? So you will talk
Hmm.
really different to these people than somebody that is a different type of negotiator. Somebody that he calls, for example, the accommodating negotiator. And
Okay.
this is the person that just wants to be friendly, and that just wants to make friends, and everything is great. Yeah, sure, we're gonna try. But these people are really, really dangerous, actually, because they will not tell you the truth. Not because they don't want to,
Okay.
or there's like any malicious thing, but just because they just want to make friends. They just want to look good. They just want to create relationships, and be this friendly person. And so you also got to be really careful with that one. And then there's the third one. There are the analytics, I think he calls it, or analysis, something like that.
Okay.
Analysis negotiators, I think he calls them. And these are more the detail oriented people. These are the people that wants all the data, all the numbers, all the documents, everything beforehand. And they want all of that before even trusting you. So there's not going to be conversation if they don't have all these things, right? Or you don't show that you can give them those things. So just understanding and categorizing people in these three will help deal with them better, and also giving them what they want so you also get what you want. So that's kind of like the win-win that we were talking about a little bit.
Okay. All right. Very good. So it sounds like this, through your experience in this book, there's a lot of actionable advice that can be quite useful for, would you say, any type of job or in life?
I would say mostly any type of jobs, yes, I think so, because at the end of the day you're always kind of like dealing with people, right? Or like negotiating something. For example, I was even thinking who could read this book, but I was even thinking people in HR, recruiters, they can totally read this book and understand who are they talking with and how I'm going to approach this thing, and how I'm going to approach things like how much, like what are the perks that they're going to get, how much are the bonuses that they're going to get, or just these things, right? So I think you can definitely many different profiles of people and many different professionals could take advantage of the book. And as you said, it's very actionable items. Like I actually had to stop throughout the book to be able to apply certain things and like let them, right, sink in and actually try them out and be like, oh wow, this sounds awesome, I'm going to try it out, see if it works. And I got to tell you, most things work most of the time, which is crazy. Sometimes, he makes you do things that are like pushing a little bit further your whatever it is, like, or either your beliefs or your way to do things. And sometimes you're like, wow, maybe I'm going to be a little aggressive here. But no, it's never too aggressive. It's never bad. It's never as bad as you think, right? And it's normally when
Okay.
you apply these techniques like he talks about, they normally come with like good outcomes. So
Okay. Perfect. In reading this book, did it help you in any way improve your English? Did you learn any interesting words, phrases, that you could share with us?
I think at this point, I'm learning things a little unconsciously. I'm just kind of like learning how to form better sentences, or
Okay.
different, how to apply like different words to say the same thing. I don't I don't think I don't know if I learned like a new word, but that's kind of like what I feel like, and that's why I keep reading in English, because I feel it's not maybe a conscious thing, but then I find myself using some words or some phrases that I read in some books, and that's kind of like how I am learning now.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's move on to the third part. Um, so you're an avid reader. You read in English, frequently nonfiction books. What advice would you give someone who wants to improve their English through reading nonfiction books?
So I will say start small and start with something easy. Either read short books or books about topics that you are interested in and you already know about a little bit. So for example, I don't know, if you also, and also you gotta like, I feel you also gotta like understand why do you want to read books in English, like, and why do you want to improve your English. Because you can, for example, maybe want to improve it for having conversations when traveling, right? So then you will need to find books that have a lot of conversations and, characters that are interacting with each other. But then maybe if you want it for work and you are, I don't know, a sommelier, and you need to talk to your clients about wine in English, then maybe it's better to read something that is not as conversational, but just a book about wines or vineyards and things like that. So then you can use that at work. And also it's a theme that you are already have some knowledge about. So you can easily understand what they are talking about, instead of just trying to get, oh yeah, I'm going to get this huge book that has 300 pages and just go for it. Because I've tried that and that doesn't work. She just
Okay.
give up. So that will be my
Okay.
advice.
Okay. Great advice. Great advice. Um, so when I asked you to, give me your top three books, we talked about Never Split the Difference, but you also mentioned two other books. What we're gonna do is these are going to be your book recommendations for the Fluent Reads community. So, the first book, the other book that you recommended, was The Artist's Way. So, if you could just briefly talk about the book and why you would recommend this book as well.
Yeah, I will first of all recommend this book to somebody that is willing to put some work into this, because it's a book that helps. It's not just being creative or in like a artisty way. It's just being creative in general in life. Whatever you do, you can apply this book to your life, to your profession. But it's a 12. It's divided in 12 weeks, and so in every week you are doing some kind of exercises, and there's a lot of writing involved. So it takes some hours of your week to do this, and it's basically to just really kind of like awake, like, how I will say this, just make you understand that you are an artist in whatever way you want, and that if you are not an artist or you're not being creative, it's just because of your beliefs and your blockages, and because you're not cultivating this habit or this environment where you can be creative, right? And it goes a lot through your past and your present, your future. There's a lot of questions. She never talks about or says what you should do. It's more about making you think through and be like, okay, what I actually want to do, what I should do, right? And just have question yourself, and what you do a lot. So that's what I say. It's a lot of work, but it's been really, really insightful. I'm actually this year doing it for the second time.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been pretty cool. And yeah,
Okay.
it's just about that.
Okay. You mentioned before that this was your second time reading Never Split the Difference. Is this something that you usually do? Go back and reread your favorite books.
So this is something I was not doing, and I decided to do because I feel there's many books out there, and we always have kind of like FOMO, even, right? Like, oh, right, this is
Hmm.
the most this trendy book that everybody has read, and I need to read it because if not, I'm a loser or whatever. But I'm like, I'm just gonna reread the books that I really like, that really help me, and where
Okay.
I've seen like a change, right? And they help me change and rethink things. And so yeah, that's what I decided to do. And so these are the two that I'm rereading. I think this year that's enough. I also want to have, of course, space for new books, but I know a lot of successful people that rereads books, and I think that's a really good thing to do.
Okay, great. And the third book you chose was Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art.
Right. This one was one of these belief breakers, I will call it. It just
Okay.
talks about how breathing affects our health and our life in general. And the takeaway, if somebody doesn't read this book but just wants one takeaway, I'll say just breathe through your nose as much as you can. Please do,
Okay.
because the benefits are insane, and we were built for that. And there's just so many things that they made us believe regarding health that are affecting the way we breathe, and they are just making us less healthy, right? So this book talks a lot about it, and what I like the most too is that this writer James Nestor, he went and experiment with it. He was not just reading about it. He was like, okay, I don't know, he was like, an example is like he found out that if you exercise just breathing through your nose instead of your mouth, you will have a better performance. And so he went and did some studies and went with athletes and did some tests, but he also did it for himself. He went and did it and went through the process of, I go cycling and breathe through my mouth all the time, to I'm going to learn how to do it through my nose and compare the results. And that's also been really cool because I really admire these people that goes and experiments with their bodies, and I think that's very brave to do. And I think, yeah, it's a great book
Okay.
if somebody's
All right.
interested in health.
All right, perfect. You provided some great recommendations. This brings us to our last question, which is a hypothetical question. If you could write a book on any topic, what would it be and why?
I don't I don't know the topic. I just know, and this has been a dream of mine for a long time. I will just
Uh-huh.
make a story, and I will have characters that will enter in this story that are people that I found really interesting in different ways in my life. So let me
Okay.
explain that. It's just that sometimes you have this neighbor that has like these weird things that they do every day, right? You see them through the window and they're doing this thing every day. Or, you just see this person on the street all the time and you don't have interaction with them, but you just see them and they do something that it's kind of like different, or they look different, or they have like a different aura or whatever, energy, or things like that. Or you always find somebody on your life that, I don't know, you're practicing a sport and they also do, and they give you like little tips, right? And they do it such a way that is very special. And so all these different people, I will put them in the book as characters. And I even have a list of these people. Many of them I don't know personally. I just maybe had like a day interaction, but they
Okay.
made such an impact that I will put them as characters in the movie. In the
Okay.
story, sorry.
In the story, in the story. All right, very good. Well, thank you very much for your time, Maria, and sharing with us your favorite books and giving us key quotes and takeaways. Thank you very much, Maria.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you, Mark.